Welcome to Amplify Digest. I'm your host, Lars Schmidt, and it is good to be back in the Digest studio. Last week, I spent the week in Paris at the Unleash World Conference, and it was a fantastic event. Big hat tip to Mark Coleman and the entire team for bringing us back together in Europe for the first time since the pandemic. So it was great to reconnect with a lot of friends out there and some really fascinating talks and conversations. And so next week we'll take another break in the Digest because I will be in LA attending LinkedIn's Talent Connect Summit Conference. Really excited to see the new format of this event. I've been going to Talent Connect since the early days, and this is a new format they're going to be launching this year, really more oriented towards leadership and framed as the Davos for talent. So that is a lofty goal, and I'm excited to see how they pull that off. Also excited to be leading 2 workshops on galvanizing your people team in the new world of work. It's all about developing your people team from a career growth standpoint, education standpoint, and I'm excited to dig into that. And on the topic of education, I want to open this week's Digest with the newly launched Amplify Learning Library. There are 2 things that to me are the most important success drivers for HR and people operations today: network equity and learning agility. And this is an open source platform I launched to support the latter. It's a collection of communities, open source resources, podcasts, books, newsletters, subscription communities, and a lot more, really aimed, entirely focused on topics around HR, people, talent, recruiting, development, and growth. So if you're looking to feed your head, this is a great open source resource that will help you do that. So you can check that out. Links to these articles and everything I'm about to walk you through are in the show notes on the Amplify Talent blog. This is a great HBR piece I wanted to call attention to around the intentionality between relationships and high-performing teams. And I think, again, particularly as many of you are in these new hybrid environments, the ability to really be intentional about relationship building as an anchor to team performance is so key. And it gets into some specific things that you need to be thinking about to really ensure that you're creating a space where that can flourish. And so this piece is definitely worth your time. As is this article on pay transparency. So I'm sure for those of you with operations in California, have seen that California has been added to the list of states that are requiring compensation transparency and details on job descriptions. And so many of you do recruiting in California, whether you're based there or you have remote roles. And so this does impact you. And this may actually, we've seen this in a couple states now. This may be a trend that continues. So want to safeguard yourself from friction here? Why don't you go ahead and add that to all of your job postings and, deal with that now before you're forced to, or you have to create some clunky mechanisms to try to avoid, legal exposure in the states that do require that. So anyway, this piece gets into a little more detail to help you make your plans and your strategy a bit more tight. Big hat tip to Boom for open sourcing this. This is a guide that they created around working at Boom, and you can see the full guide. It's embedded in a LinkedIn post in the show notes. But just a cool example of a way to transparently, openly share what it's like to work at your organization. And so this one's definitely worth your time, and hopefully that can be filed under the steal and borrow this idea category, because I think they did a really nice job on this, and hopefully it'll serve as inspiration for all of you. OC Tanner had a really robust culture report for 2023 with some great data in this. And so this one's definitely worth your time. Longer read. There's an executive summary and then a much, much, much longer report that's long form, but definitely worth digging into. And I think there's some data here that may help you, those of you that are kind of in your forecasting and planning modes for 2023. This will give you some data to bring to those conversations. And that is a wrap for this week's Amplify Digest. I want to actually just on a personal note, the podcast, I've been having a bit of a detour from typical programming the last 2 weeks with